This message on this Saturday is not being shot from the National Palace, but in Palenque, where I find myself at the foot of this cedar tree that is probably around my age. It's a beautiful specimen from the tropics of nature. I'm going to comment on, because I can't disconnect from what is happening in the country. I'm in Palenque, but I'm being informed of what's happening in the country. Now, with the internet, it represents, in terms of technology, it's a revolution. It's one of the most important inventions in recent times. Now, we can know what's happening not only in Mexico, but all around the world. Okay, well, I want to comment on the fact that Calderon's party was rejected by the Mexican FEC, the Federal Elections Commission. The Christians and evangelicals that are in favor of my transformation will say that it's divine justice. The lay people, laymen, who are not religious, will probably maintain that it's earthly justice. The skeptical, they still don't understand what's happened. They probably think that it's a type of political game and that in the future they will reverse their decision, the decision of the FEC. They think that ultimately they will allow Calderon to form a political party. Their reasoning being they defend the idea that, it's what lawyers always say. They say that if he won the presidency of this country, why wouldn't he be able to found a political party if he's used to winning in unscrupulous, immoral ways? So, what's my opinion on the matter, on what's happening? These strange things. I think that things have changed in this country. Times have changed. I attribute this to the new set of circumstances that we have, to the strength of public opinion, to a shift in mentality. This is a triumph for the people of Mexico. I always remember what Lucas Alaman used to say when he wrote a letter to Santana after a great national tragedy when we lost half of our territory. It was a strong blow to this country. And after that, Santana has to go into exile to Colombia. And Lucas Alaman wrote him a letter. He was a conservative from this country, to tell him to come back, that he needn't worry because the conservatives controlled the media, the press in Mexico. Not only the newspapers in the capital of the country, but in other various states. That they word for word, and I'm quoting, that they controlled, and that were responsible for the creation of public opinion. And indeed, Santana comes back. He'd been president in this country for a few years, and he comes back. And he becomes part of a very powerful figure, a caricature, a monarchical caricature. noble titles are being handed out at the time. Unfortunately, Lucas Alaman dies shortly thereafter, who was an intellectual. He was a conservative, but very intelligent. And Santana becomes a caricature, very costly caricature for this country, because after his return from exile, he sold more territory for $10 million, and then he blew it, and those he becomes a defeated politician, and he has to go back into exile to never return to this country. And he was defeated by Ayutla's movement, Alvarez, common foe, and other politicians. And he comes back from exile, and Ocampo and others, and they triumph. They win, and that signals the end of Santana's dictatorship. But almost at the same time, almost at the same time that Lucas Alaman sent a letter to Santana saying that you can come back, we control the press, we control the media, we control the mentality, public opinion. And indeed, when Santana comes back, as soon as he sets foot in Veracruz, they organize a big celebration, a parade, and at that same time, Miguel de Tejada also writes him a letter to Colombia where Santana was exiled. But Tejada was a liberal, and he says, you know what? You really shouldn't come back. Uh, Conservatism will never return to this country, and if even if you do win, it'll be short-lived. Tran- it'll be a transition. And he says something very important in the letter. He says he can't. Public opinion cannot stand for another dictatorship, and he says that you would not be able to lead this country, to govern this country. And in the end, the Tejada was right. It was just a transitional period. Santana's last uh, presidency, his mandate. But what happened was that public opinion was in favor of change. The people of this country did not want dictators. And all of this happened without a single shot being fired. There was no violence. No battles were fought. Maybe a few skirmishes around Acapulco that a few liberals organized. Santana had to leave permanently because he was hated in this country. So that explains what is happening now. And some people don't want to understand that there has been a shift in mentality. That is a very there is a very strong public opinion. Imagine. Imagine the comments on social media, the holy social media. How could the FEC, the Federal Elections Commission, allow Calderon to found a party that would have signaled the end of the FEC? I mean, they already have lost a lot of credit because there has been a change in mentality. We're going to leave one day. They can even change those in charge of the institutions. But now we have a population that is very aware of what's happening in this country. Mexico is a country that is heavily involved in politics. They are very aware of what is happening in the political scene in this country. Just to finish, what would I say to Calderon? He should maybe do what we did for many years. He should organize peaceful demonstrations like we did when they stole the elections, the presidency from us. I remember thousands of us went to the courts, and I gave a speech with that I misquoted on. I said, "To hell with your institutions," and someone changed it, and then of course it was deformed by a lot of people. I said, "To hell with the institutions," but I didn't say to the institution. I said, "To hell with your institutions." That was when a type of political mafia was still in power. So my message to Calderon would be to seek help from people, from those who helped him, the newspaper Reforma, and other media outlets. And of course, he could also ask the intellectuals of this country for help. Well, except for one or two who voted against him. I think his name is Ciro. I don't remember his last name. The leader of the FEC, Cordoba, was in favor of rejecting Calderon's party. So what Calderon can do is organize demonstrations and call on his friends from the past, other politicians, all of those who helped him, the press, telecommunication companies, so he can ask for their help. They can go out into the streets, they can demonstrate, they can organize peaceful demonstrations. And if there is no justice in this country, he can go to Washington, D.C., and ask for help over there. But I think it's better if he doesn't go to New York because Garcia Luna is incarcerated in New York. So he can ask for help. He can ask his friends at the OEA for help. And he can demonstrate peacefully, like we did. When you're fighting for a just cause, you have a clear conscience. Thank you.